Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Let Me Interrupt, a woman's perspective in today's workplace.
Yeah, we're super excited to have you back. It is, I think this is scheduled to go out towards the end of January. So hopefully your first month of the year was successful, renewing, had some good things get started. And in the spirit of things, I think we are going to have a really nice discussion today around entrepreneurship and following your passion. And for that discussion, we're welcoming today Chantil Thomas, and she has an extensive background and an amazing business that we're kind of learn about today a little bit, but mainly, where she started and how she is thriving currently. So, a little bit about Chantel. She is a public health practitioner, native of the Washington, D.C. area, and a Howard University alum. Chantel is a grassroots girl ready to change the world. Spanning over 15 years, she is most known for her career in public health and communications. Her areas of expertise include organizational and strategic development, integrated HIV and STI services, health and equity, women's health and wellness, trauma-informed care, and health communication. Chantel is the CEO of Pretty Periods LLC and is a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Inc. She currently resides in the DC metropolitan area. So we want to say a warm welcome to the podcast.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Yeah, Shani, wow, I'm blown away. I'm honored to have you. What an extensive background, a very diverse background. So, kind of jumping right in, diving right into our talk for this evening. Can you kind of go into a little bit more detail about your background, both your public health background, kind of what led you into public health, and then maybe how you expanded into your entrepreneurship drive, kind of just what had you focused on your topics of interest?
I always say that you don't choose public health, especially like HIV, integrated HIV services. It kind of chooses you. This is a field that is driven by passion and purpose. Both my degrees in communication, however, Cindy and I met when she was an intern. I fell in love with public health as an intern in high school. One of my current mentors taught me condom outreach, negotiation, and STI education. And I was a recruiter for my peers to get screened for STIs. In high school, right out of undergrad, I also became a sexual health educator. That was my first full-time job. I was so excited, making $30,000. You couldn't tell me anything. I thought I had like struck it big, but it wasn't pie in the sky for me, and I didn't see that for myself. So I went into education because I was an education minor. I fell back into public health, and I'm like, what is the deal? And I became an HIV program manager, a case manager for a youth development program, and that's where I met Cindy. And again, this field chooses you. So I service Black and Brown women in the DC area who were living with and or impacted by HIV. We did some outreach in the area schools. I developed a curriculum aligned to core health content standards because I thought the curriculum for sexual health and reproductive health was outdated for youth in the DC area. And I was like, no, like I wanted something that was culturally responsive and relevant, something that I know would get youth talking and thinking, and that would drive behavior change. Fast forward to like once I stayed there, I eventually moved to public health on the local government level, which I still am. So though I am an entrepreneur, I have not quit my 9-to-5 because I need good benefits, y'all. Entrepreneurship is fun, but it comes with a lot of things. Yet I still knew that I was passionate about like starting my own business, which is also like, this is a show for women and like in the business space, but also like I received the diagnosis of endometriosis, and it's a women's reproductive health issue. And I just knew that I wasn't the only woman like suffering with this. I have a whole backstory about how Cindy helped me out one time when I was having like an episode. But that's what drove me to start my business. And because I had the expertise in public health, it made it even easier. So Pretty Periods started as a sexual health and reproductive justice brand for Black women by Black women. I started with a subscription box. at the height of the pandemic because I wanted Black and brown women to feel good about their bodies around that menstrual time, or if they were going into menopause, or if they were postpartum. So I curated these boxes, like providing all organic products. And I reached out to Black and brown businesses to feature different products each month in these boxes. So that when you got it, you felt it's like a luxury subscription box, like a feel-good box in a box. And depending on which one you had, it spoke to your needs, it catered to your needs. I had like gender expansive ones for my trans sibs who were having, sex reassignment surgery. Like it was everything that I could imagine. I wanted to feel good about my diagnosis of endometriosis. I wanted to feel good about my struggles with fertility. And I just wanted to have products that were good for my body overall.
Well, before Cindy jumps in, I really want to say this. I want to get this in because I'll let Cindy lead off with the next question. But I'm really in awe. I'm really in awe. Like, it just kind of just makes me think that like all good ideas, like, whatever it might be, the subscription boxes that really, hit it big, and all really good ideas start with like just fresh minds and fresh thinking, like what you brought to your pretty periods. Like I'm just really blown away. So kudos.
The other thing I wanted to kind of jump into was, and I love that you said, you didn't quit your 9 to 5. And the reality of it is so rich because you go on social media and you see, do this business and you'll be able to make millions of dollars and not have a 9 to 5 and have this like luxurious life and live your dream. And that's just not attainable for everyone. And it can be discouraging, for those who start their business and don't immediately have everything that's been, pie in the sky promised. So entrepreneurship can be daunting. And in your situation, we talked a little bit about what sparked your motivation, but, what keeps you going? Like, so that you knew, this is going somewhere, or what were your future plans and what drove you to keep pushing forward?
So it's like a combination of things. Like I'm a spiritual person. So like I believe in God and I believe like you have an assignment. And so I knew that I had to see that assignment through. Another thing is that like I don't believe that things are about me. So I knew that it was attached to like a bigger purpose. So one of the hallmarks of my business is like fighting period poverty. So like I knew that I wanted to get organic period products and education to those people who are in marginalized communities. And like, listen, I may not want to pay $8 for pads, but I want to pay $8 for wine. And I think that you should totally have that choice because period products should be free. No one should miss a meal because they have to buy period products. And I didn't realize that until like literally I went to her one day, and it's just, you're always privileged. And you look at, and I called my mom and I was like, yo, really great pads are like $8. Can you believe that? And like, I have a heavy menstrual flow. So sometimes I may have to buy two boxes of pads or something that month. And these are for organic, right? You have someone that lower end that could be like $4 or $5, but they're filled with harmful toxins. So I knew that like, okay, one, I have to do this because this is bigger than me. Dr. Spunt, she's a professor at Trinity University, Washington, DC. I remember being in a class and she says like, you never want to be like at your wit's end when you're old and gray and you say like, I shoulda, coulda, woulda. She's like, you can always just try it. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, but you can say it was a hell of a ride. I think that's what kind of like kept me going. Like, it was the professors that I had at this institution that serviced like Black, brown women from all over that like instill in me that you can do anything. And then at the core, it's my mom, it's my grandmother, it's her siblings, it's the women in my family who were like my backbone that believed in me when I got this crazy idea. It's one of my colleagues at work who I would tell every day, like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And I was just building my business. And she was like, I believe you can do it. And I would say, well, I did this today. Like I ordered boxes today. It was in the middle of the pandemic, at the height of the pandemic to be exact. And I wanted a specific pad that was manufactured by a Black pad company, and they were sold out of Target. They were sold out everywhere. I didn't even have my wholesale license or anything, but I knew I needed these products, and I was able to like slide in her DMs, and then I was able to get access to the products that I needed, and then I was like, this is real. I was able to take savings and order boxes, and I didn't know if it was going to work out. I didn't know if I would have customers, because that's the reality. You don't know if it's going to work out. You don't know until you do it. So my advice is just to do it. as you said, like entrepreneurship is daunting. I knew that I wanted to do this, but I also knew like reality is you still have bills. You're a mom. You still need top of the line healthcare because you do have health conditions. Be smart, right? And be strategic. You can do both. And, you know, eventually you'll reach that threshold when you can make a choice. But as of right now, I can't leave my 9 to 5.
Channy, you're really like you're definitely dropping like gems all throughout this. I think, you know, for those listening, like men might be like, oh, barf, you know, these three ladies are on here talking about their periods. I mean, for some people it's like taboo. Like, I mean, everyone has a story related to how they grew up and what they had to endure. I I mean, and what they had to endure. I was raised by a single dad, so I remember telling him, "Hey, I need to go to the store." And he was the typical dad. He worked night shift. He was always cranky. And I remember saying, I need to go to the store. And he was like, for what? And I'm like, well, I need to go to the store. And it was just that fear of having that discussion with him. And, you know, then I finally was able to spit it out, but gosh, how uncomfortable I felt. And just, so it's just definitely bringing back like flashbacks, but I'm not naive to the fact that there's probably highs, lows, you know, the good, the bad, the indifferent. Would you like to share any of those with us?
Yeah, like applying for grants that I did not get. I don't think that when you're a small business owner and you have a team, but you have like a skeleton team, you're doing everything. So my business is now service based because at first we started out with these boxes and that meant I was my packager. I was the whole person in my room. My apartment became my warehouse. That also meant I was like dropping things at UPS, the post office. It was all like driven by me. So pricing was off at first. So I was losing money, even though I was providing such a great, you know, product. The boxes alone would probably range like $75 if I like priced it out correctly. I was selling them for like $50. So, and this is not including like the shipping and things like that. So I was losing money. So like, these are things that like, you know, I wish I had sat down and like thought out thoroughly. What else can I think of? Because I'm such a pie in the sky person, like if I think of something, I want to do it, right? I don't think of the through. I think of the outcome and the impact, not the through. So I also was providing services at the same time. So I was doing sexual health, reproductive justice courses for our local child and family service agency for kids who are in foster care who were aging out. So I was providing educational courses there. I was doing period poverty work. I was working in DC public schools doing some more sexual health education. So I was burnt out. So like I had this full menu and at times I wasn't always able to provide what was on the menu because it just was not in the kitchen. And so like taking a moment to like dial back, you know, it's okay. So now my business is solely, you know, service based at this time. I do still have my boxes, which I do donations like quarterly to schools in the area of menstrual care products. I got like a major sponsorship from the Honey Pot. They gave me like $10,000 worth of product in 2022. So I was super excited about that. And I did a few giveaways, but I'm solely service-based now because I could not do everything. And like Superwoman syndrome is cute, it's nice, but it can be detrimental to your health because yeah, you can do it all, but it's not healthy when you do it all.
Love that you're discussing the evolution of your business, because it really speaks to, you may think that, you know, you start somewhere and that's kind of the seed that you plant, but it really evolves based on your needs at a given time. And in a future, hopefully you'll come back, but you are such a gifted communicator that, so, you know, you're great at making those partnerships, like getting that $10,000, you know, like sponsorship. I mean, unthinkable for some people who just kicked off their business, you know, who just have started making these partnerships and grant applications. I mean, it takes a lot of belief in what you're doing and your passion to apply for those grants, to say like, listen, like believe in me and I can meet the needs, you know, wherever you can meet them. So I really want to just touch a little bit on your work in health equity. So I would love to hear, you know, your take on the needs that you see still in the community, because it sounds like you are in the community, and I know you touched on this a little bit, but how your business and how the work that you're doing is directly making an impact, and have you seen those impacts, like the result of the work that you're doing?
Yeah, definitely. So I would start like with my 9 to 5. As you mentioned, I work in HIV, integrated HIV services. So making sure that work that's getting done on the ground is digestible to those who are receiving services. So what does that look like? Is it culturally responsive? Do you have culturally responsive office hours? Right? Are your office hours just from 9 to 5? Um, Health literacy. Are your campaigns, the literature in your clinical space, is it understandable? And I mean, at the lowest terms, right? Can someone walk in and say, okay, yes, are your patients able to read and understand and digest their labs? Are they walking away comprehending what just happened in that visit, or are they walking away left with questions? So I do see that a lot of like people still have maybe access to resources, but it's the connection, it's that linkage to care, it's the continuum of care that I still see like a great plight. How do you keep people like invested in their own care? Like, are you servicing the whole person, or are you just trying to achieve your desired outcome? Like, I just need to do HIV services, forget everything else that you have going on in the background, forget your housing, forget your kids, forget your job, education, just come in here and take your pills. When we know that when you want to like make sure that you have an impact on a person's care, you have to worry about the whole person, because you can totally miss out on engaging with someone if you're not really engaging with someone, if that makes any sense to you. And we see that sometimes clients won't come back for care and services because, yeah, my meds are important to me. However, I need to make sure that my kids eat. I need to make sure that my bills are paid. I need to make sure X, Y, and Z. And they're like, especially Black and brown women, they tend to be the last on their list. They're like, you know what? And moms, women in general, we're just givers and nurturers by nature, that everyone else and everything can come first. And then we're like dead last. And it's usually when we're like beyond burnt out. And then it's just like, okay, yeah, I'm super sick, you know. I may not be at undetectable levels anymore. Then they're like coming into the office. So like, how do we prevent that? So we talk about equity, it's giving a person what they need, and that differs from community to community, person to person. My office hour visit with you may be 1 hour versus someone else may actually need just 15 minutes. Come in, they get it, and they understand. I also think that like, just providers should be just very cognizant of that. It's no cookie cutter way to service community without flexibility.
Everything that you're saying resonates with me. I mean, Cindy and I work in the medical field. So like she said, a lot of our guests are medical. My whole career has been within the medical field. And I think it's definitely making those connections and meeting people where they're at. And I think it's just like, it's paramount. I mean, otherwise you lose that ability to have them be a partner in their own care. So
yes. Yeah.
Yep.
And so currently my business is now service-based. So I provide strategic planning, development oversight to companies who service Black and brown women, and then the sexual health and reproductive justice space overall. And so let's look at your infrastructure. Like, do you need to revamp things? What things do you need to take out? What do you need to implement in order for your organization, your company to be successful? What does your messaging look like? Is it really being received? Or is it just cookie cutter and you're like cherry picking? Like, I have this person, I have that person. And is it just looking like, you just literally cherry pick just to, put something out? Are people reading it, or are people understanding it? Or are they doing both? So like that's what it looks like for me now, making sure that like policies and procedures are in place so that messages are like conveyed and received well. It's culturally responsive and accepted.
Have you had a moment in your journey so far where you've hit a low and you weren't sure if it was the right time to keep on going, to keep on moving? How did you mitigate that and resolve that?
So again, I had all these boxes, and those boxes cost a hell of a lot of money when you're getting, because they were like so nicely designed. I realized that I wouldn't be able to like ship. I had started out and like on my website, if you were in California and you need free pads, I'm going to ship to you. And like I hit a point where it's like, that's just not realistic. So I think like my low was like having to go into my system and like send out an email response to all the people who signs up for free period products, letting them know that I just could not send them. I was working 9 to 5. I had service-based projects going on, where I was like, doing my courses with like the school, and I just could not do it all. And I felt horrible having to go in because like people signed up and it could have, really, really been a need. And I felt like I let a lot of people down. And then I used that like as a point to strengthen my business and like take a step back and like, okay, it was a great idea. It's a very great concept. Like, how do you revamp and still make this something positive? So then it started with me saying, okay, you know what? I can do quarterly donations to the schools in the area and organizations in the area. Now, if you're a one-off person and you're in the area and you reach out, yeah, you can come pick some pads up from my job or something like that. I don't mind. I can meet you in somewhere public and give it if you really are in need. But revamping, like, so no, you can't do product-based business anymore. You can do service-based. And that's when I scored my like first 5-figure contract on the high end, working with a national organization to develop their women's health campaign. And so like, I think that once you find your niche, and you become strategic in what you're doing, kind of things fall in alignment. Being honest, right? And putting your ego aside. And so saying like, hey, this did not work. I had to like put that on, I had to, do something new. Was the level of transparency that like, it was like, it felt horrible because like you're letting people down, you're letting yourself down. But no, it just, I just had to make it better. And you can achieve the same outcome, which was helping to end period poverty. Just, I had to just take a different route, and like your route will change, and just be okay with that.
Well, I think that, your entrepreneurial spirit has really shined through in the last, 30 minutes that we've spent together. Don't let anyone fool you. Cindy's got an entrepreneurial spirit about herself. She's got some side things going on. And so I think it's just that creative way to think, and the ability to change one's thinking when you have to shift or mitigate.
Thinking about taking the lessons that you've learned and talking to other women or those who are listening right now, who may have that 9 to 5, who may have that grand idea, or who may not have a job right now, stay-at-home moms, whoever, but they have this idea that they want to either launch a business or feel so passionate about something and may not know exactly how to channel that. What would be some tips that you would give other women looking to fulfill those passions?
Stay true to yourself, I think, and then do it. Do it scared. Do it with what resources that you have. Be strategic in your thinking. Write out your plan. Like, I will wake up out of my sleep to write down notes if I think of something. Literally, I keep my phone by my bed, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, goodness, but I'll write down my notes and then I'll like act. Sometimes our best ideas live in our head and our phone. This is not selfish thinking, it's selfful, but put yourself first, especially if like moms, put yourself first. A career, put yourself first. Like a lot of things we're doing sometimes are driven by like our family desires as well. Like, what are your desires? Put them on your list and execute them. I would say like, make sure that your plan is like well thought out. And even if it's not, hell, still do it. You can always dial back. You can learn from your mistakes. You can always begin again, and never be afraid to begin again. Never be afraid to like revamp and like start over and implement new things, because I surely did. So now it's consulting, and I updated my website like maybe last month. And so it's like, no, I'm not like providing services. I'm providing consulting services, because I can no longer do direct service that much, because I'm not in direct service and work that much anymore. But I do have like tasks that require me to be like public facing or community facing at times. So like just making sure that you put self-care on your list as well when doing these things, because you can become overwhelmed by trying to achieve certain outcomes. It doesn't have to be perfect and pretty by any means, because it will come, but just do it. Like, I think that's the best advice I can have. Don't let those ideas live another week in your phone, in your notebook, in your journal, and your best friends, just the thread between your best friend and you. Like, just do it. And if you need help or resources, like Google, ask a friend, and you don't have to tell them what you're doing. I just did like little polls with my friends randomly, like, oh, what period products do you use? So when I did drop my box, I knew that like Honeypot was like a fan amongst several of my peers. So I knew that I wanted to have that product. They didn't know what I was going to do. Sometimes you don't have to blab and tell everyone what's going on. You just got to show them. And the right people who are in your circle will support you. Trust me. Like my family were my operations team. So it's like, yeah, they were the people who are in my stock photos because yeah, I didn't have time for paid actors and models. No, I need this, and you guys are going to wear my company t-shirt and we're going to take this photo shoot, right? I will also say save because it does take money. You know, you don't have to have $1 million. You don't have to have like a big budget, but it does take money. And make sure that like when you're starting, if it's a hobby, you're just testing out, that's fine. But if it's going to be like a business, it has tax write-offs and things like that. So making sure that you document it and you have the infrastructure for a sound business. I think that's it.
Yeah. The biggest takeaway, I mean, something we've heard like over the past many months by, varying guests, even most recently, is just like that, just remembering that it's never too late. If you have the passion, pursue it. So I love that. So Channy, we really appreciate all the valuable information that you shared. I've learned leaps and bounds in this 30 minutes. Thank you so much. So we always open the floor to our guest at the very end. If Channy today could tell the young Channy something valuable, maybe something that you've learned on your own journey that you would go back and tell your younger self who was just venturing out or starting out, what would that be?
Don't stop dreaming. Like it's going to pay off. I've always had like pie in the sky ideas. One of my supervisors used to say like, you have these $1 million ideas and this champagne dream, and we're working on a beer budget. And so like, don't stop dreaming. Like, just stay true to yourself. It's going to pay off, just don't give up. When I first started, I had these ideas I wanted to pitch to celebrities, and I got the chance to pitch. At times it didn't work out, but like I revamped that same pitch, and then someone else bought it and bought into it. So don't stop dreaming. Like believe in yourself, and like you have to like bet it all on yourself. Bet it all. And like I don't know if I got that from like just my family, and then like what was instilled in me at Trinity, like being around like women. It's just something powerful about women in general. Like we're like, we bring life and we change life. We change the world. And I believe that wholeheartedly. Like at Trinity, I learned that I could show up as me. I didn't have to show up in like glitz and glam. I can show up, and I knew that like what I was contributing to the space mattered. And that's the same attitude that I brought to my career and my business. Show up and like just show up as yourself and like change the game.
Spoken like a true Trinity girl.
I think it's something dynamic about the professors there that really shaped me as a strong, like headed woman. Like I literally believe that I can show up in Uggs where everyone else is in heels, and I can get just as much, if not more, accomplished in a field or space or room that's dominated by men. It's just like, nope, I'm a Trinity woman, and you're going to listen. And I'm going to command your attention. And I don't know, I guess it's just the Trinity woman within me.
I absolutely love it. I love it. And, I think, I don't know what it was, but I can already see all of the like wonderful quotes that you put out there that I just haven't heard in so long, because we haven't had, full conversations in such a long time. But, like it just, you are just a walking inspiration, and we are so happy that we were able to chat with you today. And I just want to give you the opportunity too, is there something that maybe we didn't touch on today that you want to just leave our listeners with? And also, where can they find out more about you, your services, and what you have going on?
Sure. On like social media platforms, I am at The Pretty Period. It's spelled like how it sounds, The Pretty Period. My website is www.theprettyperiod.com. I am Chantil Thomas. I thank you guys for this amazing platform, for the dialogue and exchange that was, that's taking place here this evening. Cindy, I'm like so proud of you. Like anytime that I see like any of my interns, I just get super excited, and I'm super proud at the work that they're doing. I always used to say like, hey, don't be like me, be better than me. And you have like achieved the ultimate goal that I set out for like anyone that I've worked with. So I'm super proud of you for that. You guys rock. And I'm super excited to see like what will come. Like we need more spaces like this for women to just come and just, just to be and exist, We have a million things going on. So when you guys are creating and curating safe spaces like this, it makes me happy.
I love that. Well, I normally have the phone on my dresser across from me when I go to bed, but I'm going to go to bed tonight with my phone. And if I wake up with any ideas, I'm going to be sure to text them to Cindy randomly throughout the night, Cindy.
Yeah, and that's how it starts. It's just like, hey, like, making notes, sending a text to a friend, because like having someone to hold you accountable, sometimes it just adds the extra push that we need.
I mean, that's how
So
this
give a shout out
podcast
to Mecca.
started. No, I mean, last note before we close out, that's how this podcast started. Melissa and I were texting late in the night and we were like, you know what? We have so many ideas and we're just going back and forth around these like really big concepts. Let's start a podcast. And at first it was like we were joking about it. And then she was like, are you for real? And I was like, are you for real? and here we are. So yeah.
I never turn down an opportunity I am an extrovert through and through. I think it's just ingrained in me. I love to talk to people. I feel I can find a connection with anyone. And
likewise,
if someone wants to talk, I'm there to listen, actively listen. And yeah, so when Cindy and I, we have been fortunate that we've gotten to meet some professional podcasters through our organization. And we were like, well, heck, if they can get on there and talk for 30 minutes, we surely can get on there and talk for 30 minutes and lend a voice to some things that, bigger conversations that need to be had. And I mean, just everything that, the society has gone through over the last few years, it's just like, put a label on it. Let's call it out. And we've been able to get some really great guests on. And I know we're wrapping up here, but sometimes I wonder if people are like, how do these girls know these people? I mean, it's just making the connections. It's making the human connections and allowing people to come into a safe space to tell their story. And you never know who that story is going to touch, resonate with, or otherwise. So Channy, I am so glad now to say that I know Channy and super happy to be connected.
I'm happy to be connected to yet another like extrovert like myself. So like we can always talk, and I'm super excited to see Cindy thriving. So thank you guys so much for having me.
Well, I'm like, thank you. So I'm flattered. But to our listeners, thank you so much for tuning into this episode. And if you did not, pull out your phone and start taking notes midway, whether you had an idea already or not, start searching, start seeing what is your passion, and does it have a potential for a business or some other venue that you can explore. But hopefully you got lots of wisdom from this episode, and we look forward to having you hearing us on future episodes. And as always, just keep on interrupting and having your voice just be heard.